Okay, so Conor McGregor is under investigation in Ireland for hate speech. Now, if you know anything about this channel and myself, you know that I am a huge Conor McGregor fan. I'm not saying he's a nice guy, he's not Santa Claus, but I'm just a huge fan of him, and I have enormous amounts of respect for him because this is a man who came up as a plumber in a very impoverished area in Ireland and has transformed that into almost $1 billion with his fists, with his feet, and with his voice, with his mouth, with his words. There are tons. He's a mad scientist. There are tons of mad scientists out there. Many of them, traipsing the halls of cell block B, D, and E at your local justice facility, at your local correctional establishment. But this man has turned it into something else. But this is special. It looks like because of the rising violence that's occurring in Western countries by immigrant populations that are having trouble assimilating or just have no interest in assimilating. They want to sort of take over these parts of the world. And that, the governments in these particular countries are just committing suicide through political correctness. It's always refreshing to hear an honest voice saying what he actually thinks. So let's get into it. Martial arts superstar Conor McGregor under investigation. This is from Gateway Pundit. Under investigation for, quote, online hate speech, end quote, following remarks on children being stabbed by immigrants in Dublin. Okay, so let's get to it. This is from earlier today, around 11 a.m. And it says, former UFC champion and one of Ireland's most prominent celebrities, Conor McGregor, finds himself in the eye of a new storm as he is currently under investigation for comments linked to a series of violent events in Dublin involving immigrant assailants, the Sunday Times reported. 5 people, including children, were stabbed near a school in Dublin, Ireland on Thursday by a suspect whose identity has yet to be released. And usually when that happens, that means that it is someone from another country, an immigrant. Europe has been flooded with immigrants almost for a decade now, actually going back much further if you do your reading. 3 children and 2 adults were taken to a nearby hospital with stab wounds. Their condition is unknown. There are reports that the perpetrator is an Algerian immigrant. Let's see. Following the attack, the 5-time world champion, MMA fighter, and Irishman Conor McGregor weighed in on the vicious assault on the innocent children, saying, quote, Ireland, we are at war. McGregor then posted this tweet to authorities in response to the riots. You reap what you sow. Excuse me. McGregor then lashed out at the police commissioner after his limp-wristed response, and that's very, very well said, to the vicious attack and resulting rioting. Innocent children ruthlessly stabbed by a mentally deranged non-national in Dublin, Ireland today. Our chief of police had this to say on the riots in the aftermath. Drew, not good enough. There is grave danger among us in Ireland that should never be here in the first place, and there has been zero action done to support the public in any way, shape, or form with this frightening fact. Not good enough. Make change or make way. Ireland for the victory. God bless those attacked today. We pray, he wrote. And if you look at the tweet there, you see underneath in ketchup, it says, Irish Garda Commissioner Drew Harris is condemning, quote, the disgraceful scenes in Dublin. He claims that a hooligan faction driven by far-right ideology is behind the violence on the streets. McGregor really went off. Any update on the well-being of those stabbed today? Absolutely horrific scenes all day. My stomach is churning with no action being taken at all during these ever more frequent attacks, like literally zero action taken whatsoever. How do we expect an end to this? We need reform. We need action. Conor McGregor demands a plan of action from the mealy-mouthed officials. I don't care about President Higgins' statement or Vardakar's statement or Mary Lou's or Justice McKenty's or Garda commissioners. Announce our plan of action. What are we waiting for? Your statements of nothing are absolutely worthless to the solving of this issue. Take action. Fix this situation immediately. I've been saying since this has kicked off in Ireland that Conor McGregor, as an MMA draw, is the biggest in the sport. If he's coming to a pay-per-view, that pay-per-view is going to make top dollar, probably be the top money-making pay-per-view of that particular year. But we've been waiting now. He has an injured leg. He had a severe compound fracture during his last fight, the third one against Dustin Poirier. It's a very difficult injury to come back from. I'm positive that he's still a top-notch martial artist. But what I'm saying is, I've been saying since this kicked off in Ireland, this stabbing, that Conor McGregor needs to shift his thinking and consider running for office. I think Conor McGregor needs to run for national office. Now, I've had lots of people tell me from Ireland, Conor McGregor could never win. People in Ireland don't like him. To those people, I say this: where are you now? You've got people getting stabbed, children getting stabbed, women getting stabbed, and just absolutely no response from the government, whose job it is to guarantee or assure your safety or protection. How could it be any worse? This man seems to, if there's one thing about Conor McGregor that I'm convinced of, it's that he loves Ireland. He loves Ireland. Sure, he's had some back and forth things, going on in his life. He's no saint. But maybe you don't need a saint. Maybe you don't need a saint. Maybe you need somebody who's a little on the rough side of things. So I've run several polls on X, on Twitter, asking if Conor McGregor should run for office. The vast majority say either like yesterday or, yeah, please make this happen as soon as possible. Okay. The comments which appeared on McGregor's social media platforms hinted at a deep-seated issue within Dublin's immigrant community, with McGregor making direct references to the recent stabbing of children in the city. And if you've seen it on Twitter, there's a viral video. You can probably find it on X or YouTube, where they go around asking people, local people in this particular part of Ireland, white people, for lack of a better description, what the number one name in that, the most popular name in that community was. And people are guessing, Peter or Jimmy or Sean or, these sorts of things. And it turned out that the number one name, the most popular name nowadays in that particular city or section of Ireland was Mohammed. So this is the situation that a lot of European countries are finding themselves in. They're just kind of being overrun. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. People are welcome to, to come to these free countries and, experience freedom and prosperity. But there's an associated violence that comes with it on several levels that is just sort of ignored by the politically correct politicians. And again, this is why I appreciate Conor McGregor's input on this. I really do think he ought to run for national office. All right, let's keep going. For instance, Ireland's Taniste Michael Martin, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I probably didn't. Described McGregor. Oh, wait. Let's go back to the previous. The comments which appeared on McGregor's social media platforms hinted at a deep-seated issue within Dublin's immigrant community, with McGregor making direct references to the recent stabbing of children in the city. The remarks suggest a rise in criminal activity tied to immigrants, igniting a firestorm of reactions from both supporters and critics. Okay, here we go. For instance, Ireland's Taniste Michael Martin described McGregor's comments as, quote, absolutely disgraceful, end quote, and indicative of inciting hate, particularly in light of the violence that erupted on the streets of Dublin following these remarks. Let's keep going. Labour Party TD, I don't know how to pronounce that, Eodin O'Riordan, told the Irish Sun that Conor McGregor and others must be held responsible for their statements. He accused the UFC fighter of inciting anger through his online comments. I don't know how someone actually worked. I mean, this is like peak cynicism, cynical politics. I mean, to actually ignore the stabbing and to attempt some cynical redirection towards Conor McGregor, and that he's responsible for the fact that people are angry and rioting in the streets. It has nothing to do with the actual crime, the women and children being stabbed. And unfortunately, it's all Conor McGregor's fault. According to the Sunday Times, the Irish police force, known as the Gardaí, I know I'm not pronouncing that correctly, I apologize, is currently evaluating McGregor's social media post as part of an investigation into the spread of online hate speech. And if you know anything about me, there is no such thing as hate speech. It's just bullshit, a bullshit socialist construct to try to intimidate people from criticizing you. Yeah, there is no such thing. I remember in my days as an international teacher, I met once. Well, I met all the time with students, but I had to get into one particular homeroom for something, for some sort of period where they had like a free time study hall, something. And so I just sort of generated this conversation, and I was told to make it about hate speech. And the teacher gave me these bullet points like, what is hate speech? When have you seen it? You know, it was a very progressive, socialist, woke, communist SOB. And so he left me these plans, and I was just like, I'm not doing this. But I changed the questions around, you know, what is hate speech? Does hate speech actually exist? And just sort of, you know, generated some real discussion. For example, I went up to a student, a female student that was part of the group, and I said, okay, let's say that I say something to you that you don't like, and you say to me, you know, out on the street, in the hallways, whatever. You just say that I'm a misogynist piece of crap, you know, and she thought that was really funny because, you know, it's high school, 17, 18-year-old, no problem. I said, if you said that to me, is that hate speech? And she just blurted it right out. No, of course not. So, you know, it's just one-sided bullshit. There is no such thing as hate speech. It's all free speech. Yeah, and you're either an absolutist for that or you're not. And I happen to be. If you're not hearing something from someone that you don't like, something that you don't like from someone you don't like, it's not free speech. McGregor's posts are being assessed by the Gardaí, the Irish police, as part of an inquiry into the dissemination of online hate speech. The inquiry is being led by Justin Kelly, an assistant Garda commissioner. The outlet reported. I hope Conor tells these people to go fuck themselves. The investigation comes on the heels of Ireland's Prime Minister Leo Varadkar's pledge to reinforce laws against hate speech in the country. Again, nothing being done to actually address the crime. Instead, they're attacking the outrage from citizens. This is the strategy. When Conor says that nothing is being done, he's actually a bit off there. This is what's being done. The outrage of the citizenry is being targeted and suppressed, or they're attempting to suppress it. This is the plan. This is the plan of action. Varadkar vows to crack down on free speech and would empower police to use facial recognition technology to track protesters. Quote, we need laws to be able to go after them individually. They're to blame, and we're going to get them, Varadkar said. So this is going to be very much like a January 6th type of thing. They're just going to go after these people and try to make examples out of them. You know, with the January 6th thing, we had several people commit suicide. People served lengthy jail terms. Now, you know, the footage is being released. The many hours of footage, you know, and, you know, now these people are being released back into society to, you know, I imagine for the sake of not having to answer tough questions, if this was such a violent insurrection, you know, why do we see people, you know, being let into the building by police and, you know, shaking hands with everybody and hanging out? It's an intimidation tactic. And I know this isn't the sort of thing that I typically cover on the channel, but I do cover MMA, and not nearly as much as I should, but I'm a huge Conor fan. And this is, well, I mean, you know, we don't live in a vacuum of horror movies and sci-fi and, you know, pro wrestling and, you know, comic book movies. We don't live in that vacuum. We live in the world. and how these people that we follow or have interest in interact in the world is important, or at least potentially it could be. I don't want to spend the entirety of my channel talking about the same played out horror films or sci-fi films or comic book movies or whatever. I mean, I got a stream coming up later tonight about CM Punk returning to WWE, but we live in the world, and we shouldn't pretend otherwise. We're a country of migrants. We've gone all over the world as a people, he said. Our public services wouldn't operate without migration. There'd be nobody to look after the sick or care for the old, certainly not enough people. Okay, that's a little strange. Is he saying that these migrants are essentially being set up as a class system, of like service workers? Sounds like a progressive idea to me. When I go into big companies, whether it's tech companies or companies that produce medical devices or pharmaceuticals, I see how diverse the workforce is, he said. And these are the companies and the people who pay massive amounts of tax that allow us to build social housing and schools and to fund our public services and our welfare system. If it wasn't for migrants, this country would be a vastly inferior place to what it is, providing they don't stab people. And you don't have Chechens in the streets in Paris chopping off teachers' heads, and mass rape of women. Forget it. Politico reported Prime Minister Leo Varadkar vowed Friday to crack down on racist extremists. Yes, because they're clearly the problem. Who fought street battles with riot police, a Rubicon moment for a state ill-equipped to combat rising working-class animosity to immigrants. Varadkar said the government within weeks would pass two key pieces of legislation. Here you go. This is the plan, Conor. It's not that there's no plan of action. It's that this is the plan of action, and it has nothing to do with crime from the immigrant population. They're going to ignore that and blame the people and prosecute the people that are saying such things. One would empower police to use facial recognition technology to track Thursday night's rioters captured by surveillance police cameras on buses, trains, private vehicles, and shops. This sounds like some V for Vendetta shit. The other would give police new powers to prosecute online promoters of hate speech. Holy shit, this is a shitty government. I can't believe this is what's happening in Ireland. Ireland, a rapidly growing nation of 5 million, last year it admitted more than 120,000 immigrants, a 15-year high that included an ongoing disproportionate intake of Ukrainian war refugees. But the country is struggling to build sufficient housing in a country where properties are in tight supply and at prices far beyond the reach of many citizens. Varadkar, who is the son of an immigrant Indian doctor, said Ireland was stronger and wealthier today because of its open approach to migration. And here's from End Wokeness, their tweet. Ireland's PM vows to crack down on free speech in response to the outrage over a migrant stabbing attack. Bill 22 will make it a criminal offense in Ireland to possess hate speech on your phone or computer. This is what is becoming of free societies today in the world. And that's from Jim Hoft. This is what's happening in the world today. And I normally wouldn't even be covering it if Conor McGregor wasn't out there taking this on. This has gone on, this particular video is going on a lot longer than I anticipated. I thought this would be a 5 or an 8 minute video. We're going on 20 minutes, but it's important. It's important that we pay attention to what's going on in the world, whether you agree with this person or you agree with the other person. We shouldn't just live in a vacuum of, our own inane, hobbies. I'm probably going to be following this particular Conor McGregor thread. Like I said, 8 o'clock tonight, I'll be back talking about CM Punk returning to WWE. But yeah, I'm also going to be a part of the world, and this channel will be a part of that as well. Excuse me, I'm shaking off a flu bug. I had like a 24-hour flu bug. It hit me Thanksgiving night. By Friday night, I was okay. Yesterday, I was up and around. Now I just seem to be, I got a bit of a cough and a hack. But I'm going to be okay. Let me know what you think. Like this video. Leave a comment. Do you agree with what Conor McGregor is saying? Do you agree with what the Prime Minister is saying and the government of Ireland is saying? Let me know what you think. Is there a problem with immigrant migration and a rising, corresponding rise in violent crime? Or is it just a bunch of bullshit? Do you believe in hate speech? Or is that just a bunch of BS? I've already told you what I think. I don't have any problem with it. Let me know. Like I said, like this video. Leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel. I just passed 400 yesterday. I can't believe I passed 400 subs. Help me get to 5 so I can monetize this bad boy. And, start to bring in some money off of this. This will be cool. All right, everybody. We'll be back at 8 o'clock tonight, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good one.